Dadnarok presents the Ted Lasso AfterShow. This is Sean.
And this is Chris.
And tonight we are discussing episode 6 of season 2, The Signal, which is funny once you learn what the signal is, specifically. But yeah, in case you guys don't know, we are Dadnarok. We do this after show, every week, Friday nights at 10 p.m. on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook this time around. Be sure to check out dadnarok.com. If you don't know us, we do an audio podcast. We have a shop. We do all kinds of things. So check out everything that we do there at dadnarok.com. What are your first thoughts as far as this episode?
Well, pump the brakes. No, guys, we had so much interaction last week on YouTube. We had so many questions, so many, comments and everything. So we greatly appreciate that. And we figured we're going to do something at the end of each show now. So if there's enough questions or comments at the end of it, what we want to do is go ahead and pull 2 of them and go ahead and address them. Because, full transparency, I'm the one that basically responds to everything and anything social media. If it's, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, it's always me. So we're going to give Sean a chance to actually see the questions as well, and we'll kind of talk over them, and we'll go that way. So we're going to cover that at the end of the episode.
There you go. There's a little teaser.
But what did I think of this episode as a whole? First thought, never disappointed. I feel like it moved the story along. It gave us moments that we knew were coming. It answered questions of past episodes, and it's pushing the story forward. That's all I want from each episode.
Yeah.
Give me something going forward. I mean, we got the real heartfelt, Christmas episode, which we didn't expect a whole lot, story and plot wise. But the past 2 episodes have absolutely catapulted us forward, to where we should be.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with that. It's fast paced. You and I were talking before the show here. Every episode has just got a lot of plot. It's a fast paced plot. It's always moving. A couple weeks ago, I said I'd be disappointed if we didn't revisit them losing to BANTR as a sponsor. But honestly, the show is going so fast that it's hard to keep so focused on a, plot point like that because there's so many other things going on. So yeah, I'm with you. It's like, every episode's quality. You're just every week. It's kind of it's a nice moment to be like, oh yeah, I get to check in and see what's going on in London with Richmond AFC and see what's developed. That's nice.
Yeah, no, and it's always heartfelt.
Yeah,
I mean, it's just one of those shows. Even when they address something that's going to be more of a heavy subject, it always feels nice.
Feels appropriate for the show.
It feels appropriate. It's not forced in any way, and it goes right along with what the show should be.
Right.
Let's just jump in a little bit. What character do you want to address first here?
Might as well just start with Rececca. I think she had a pretty big episode, honestly. The last couple, she kind of had more of a minor role, but this one we got a lot more meat to the bone.
It started with her.
Yeah, exactly. Which there's a lot of episodes that start with Rececca. Even the very first, the pilot episode started with Rececca. In a show called Ted Lasso, the first character that they show us is Rececca. So she's got a ton going on here, and we start with her, and I guess I call it a side piece. I think you had a different word for it in the notes, but I won't mention it here. Luca, I guess, is somebody that she talks to.
Say, hey, thanks for joining us. That's awesome. Yeah. I'm just kind of bringing this to a halt here, but someone new for the show that was watching this live, I always want to kind of point that out.
Yeah, appreciate that. Yeah, we're a live interactive show, guys. So if you're watching us on YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, Facebook, go ahead and comment. We'll see it live. And if there's something about the show you want to bring up, anything, we'll be sure to address it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But let's get going again.
Yeah. So we start with Rececca, and she has had, I don't know if it's a one-night stand or she's been with this Luca character that she met off this other app, right? I don't think it's even BANTR that she's been
I don't think it's an app. I think it looks like it's just a text chain. She met him somewhere, if it was one of a bar or something.
Maybe a restaurant or something.
Yeah, and she's kind of been his, her midnight friend.
Yeah, it's just somebody, to enjoy the late evenings with. But he's just walking around her kitchen buck naked.
And what's the worst thing that can happen? Mom walks in the door.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And her reaction's great. He's just like, well, hello.
Yeah, we get an introduction. I didn't know that we'd be introduced to Rebecca's parents, and we haven't been introduced to her father. But I assume maybe that's down the line at some point.
Sounds
Now that
like
we've
it.
gotten her mother involved, but yeah, she's Rebecca's kind of. You could tell she's a bit weary. She's not overly excited to see her mom at first, but she's not, not excited. She
Yeah.
just. It seems like her mother basically comes in with the news that she's left her father, Rebecca's father, and we learn later in the episode that this is not the first time that this has happened.
This is a common occurrence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Rebecca's having kind of a tough time with this because she knows what the eventual outcome would be. And who does she call upon when she gets back to the office? She, Ted's in mid practice and she yells out the window that she needs him for lunch. And, Ted was just going to have lunch with Beard. So,
Do you have plans? I don't care. You're coming with me.
yeah,
That's pretty much
exactly.
what I got out of that.
I mean, all he was going to do was swap BLT sandwiches with Beard. So I guess he was free, honestly. But yeah, he goes. So Rebecca, the point I wanted to make was Rebecca kind of calls upon her two rocks. I feel like she's got two really near and dear supporting friends right now that would be able to assist her later. And she calls it out when she calls Ted. She's like, I could really use one of your pep talks, later on the episode.
Yeah.
And her going to Keeley, that pair has been fairly inseparable since the season one.
Yeah.
So she would like to have them during this lunch with her mother.
Yeah. And it wasn't an easy one either. They're going back and Ted, what was how did Ted put it? Always leave someone
people well.
Leave
Yeah.
people well. Then she's like, well, you were left. He's like, oh, yeah, I was. I was like kind of a shot. I don't know if it was a meaningful shot.
Yeah.
It was kind of a jab that he wasn't expecting.
I think Rebecca's mom was just a little flighty, a little out of touch socially as far as the comments that she was making here and there. But Ted took it in stride. He was just like, you could tell it. He took kind of pause for a minute and he was like, you're right. Yeah, that is different, isn't it?
Well, then she's like, she wants the May to tell the three stooges in the bar
Right.
to stop yelling at the football game. And you're like, no,
Yeah.
they're watching the Great Bake Off. Which I
The Great
love.
British Bake Off. I
Because
know.
Because my wife watches it on Netflix.
We've watched several episodes of that too. Yeah, it's enjoyable, and I can see why somebody would get passionate about it.
I don't know why we enjoy it, but it's fun.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's pretty funny. Throughout the rest of the episode too, we also see Rececca using the BANTR app and talking to the same mystery man that she's describing here throughout the last few episodes. And you and I talked about kind of thoroughly last episode that we had this theory that it may be Ted, and I think the show was kind of pointing us in that direction.
I don't think either of us wanted it to be Ted. We were both kind of. I mean, we would accept it, but we were like, I don't know if that's the way I want the show to go.
Yeah, as far as what their relationship looks like, I like it where it's at, where it's like a super like friendship level. I think that's appropriate for the both of them. But you just never know with shows like this. And we got a pretty definitive answer who this mystery man is later in the episode.
Yeah, we did. It's like going back and forth, and they had a period of time where Rececca wanted him to say who he was.
Mm-hmm.
And he dodged the question by saying something to the extent of, what kind of spy would I be if I didn't let you know who I was?
Yeah, and it's so funny because there were small moments like in the last episode where Rececca sends something to Ted, a message via BANTR, and then they immediately cut to Ted walking in the hallway and he's on his phone, he's smiling. Just a few moments like that. And a lot of these texts that have been sent to Rececca sounded like they were coming from Ted.
Well, one of them read, "Hey, boss girl, just want to say thanks for being the best part of my day." I mean,
right.
That sounds like Ted.
Just something, sweet Ted would say in the moment, right? And turns out it is not Ted. We find out at the end of this episode. She sends a message to this mystery man, and then we cut to, I guess, a limousine because the team is celebrating their victory today.
Yeah.
And turns out it's Sam.
You buried the lead. I got the video.
I'm sorry.
What's going on here? Let's go ahead and let's watch it. Let's find out who it is.
Yeah. Jumpman, and boys up to something. Ooh. They just spent like 2 or 3 weeks out the country.
Know the lyrics.
Them boys up to something. They just not just bluffing.
What?
You don't have to call like him, I dance like Usher.
Dude, you got to tell me what do you think of this revelation that it's Sam?
I think honestly, I think if it was Ted, it would probably have a bit more dramatic outcome. But I don't know. I mean, this is certainly one way to go because I mentioned before on this show how Sam had a couple of scenes with Rececca in the first season where he was a gentleman, and their first interaction that we know of when they have that curse in that massage room or whatever.
Yeah.
And he goes up to her office to invite her down, and he's just very polite and very gracious, and just says how much it would mean to him and the team. And she's kind of taken aback by just how nice he is and pleasant he is to her when they've really not had an interaction before, it seemed like.
Now the wording in that message before, "Hey, boss girl," do you think
he has
he knows who it is and she doesn't?
I don't know. I assume that maybe she gave him some small details about what she does for a living, and maybe he has enough information to kind of infer that she's probably in a position of power, but I don't know. That would be something if he actually knew fully
who she was.
And he's still taking a shot.
I don't like it. I'll be
not
at all. I mean, I think this is them almost writing off Sam's character.
Oh, really? Okay.
I think this could be the end of Sam's character. I think she can find out who it is. He's already had the run-in with the sponsor, so she's already backed him then. And then she finds out this, and then there's such an uneasiness or uncomfortable, level with this that she winds up selling, his rights to another team, and then they move him to a different team.
Right.
And I don't want to see the end of Sam's character on the teams. He's such, like you say, he's such a warm character, fun character. He's the leader of the team. He's the captain. No.
Yeah.
I don't know. Is he actually the captain? Or
no,
is it
he's not the captain.
McAdoo?
It's McAdoo.
McAdoo's the actual captain, but it's like he's a leader on the team.
He is certainly a leader, yeah, and one of their star players. I feel that, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm just afraid that there's something is going to happen. It's going to become known. I mean, there's no way they can't. It's got to come out. They got to figure out who it is eventually because they're going to meet. And I almost think if it was Ted and Rececca, they could go ahead and play it off goofy and be like, you know what? Yeah, this stupid internet dating thing,
right,
and brush it under the carpet and let that tension may remain for a while until we get later in the season. And you know how these shows always do something.
Yeah.
But with it being
you think it would be harder for Rececca and Sam to just kind of laugh this thing off once they do find out who each other are?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I'm afraid of. I don't want to see Sam's character go away.
Yeah, that is troubling. Yeah, because there is kind of a bit of an ominous tone to this whole thing where it's like you feel good for Rececca, but this whole time you're like, I know that because this banter thing is like you don't see pictures initially, I know that this has got to be somebody that's already within her circle, just dramatically. That's what makes sense for a TV show, So who is it going to be? We thought it was Ted. We had ideas of how that could play out, but Sam is definitely a wrinkle, man. You're right. I don't want this to conflict with his place on the team and the success that he's already derived from first, Jamie being gone, but now the type of player that Jamie is, he passes the ball to Sam to make the goal, that kind of thing. Yeah. He's still a very important piece of the team. So I don't know. We'll see how it plays out. You know how Ted Lasso likes to defy expectations as far as what we think is going to happen. So
yeah, because no one called this.
Yeah,
no one's seen this. There was the Ted option, and then it could have. This would have been out of left field. But it could have even been the ex-husband.
Oh, Rupert. What if it was? I didn't even think about that. But yeah, you're right.
If it was, can you imagine
what
would have happened if it was Rupert?
Yeah, that would be terrible. And we haven't seen him yet this season, so that would be quite the reveal.
Yeah, that would have been something. I would have been for that because then there would have been immediate tension.
Right.
The way this show works with tension is great because they know how they can work the tension and then they can work the lightheartedness together. So it's not. You're not sitting this kind of all like oh boy, what's going on? Or like you're putting your phone up in front of your face. I don't want to watch this. It's gonna be rough
Right.
type situations. It's always enough. There's enough tension that you feel it, but not enough that you're like, I can't do this.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's, big developments here for Rebecca's storyline. We finally figure out to know who this mystery man is on the other side of banter, and we will just see how that develops, man. And then the thing with her mother, just to get back to it, Rebecca called it. By the end of this
Yeah.
episode, Rebecca's mom is back with her father,
Her
and
father bought her dad, mother a Tesla, and
yeah,
and the shepherd's pie needs 2 minutes in the microwave.
yeah. So I mean, that being said, I'm not entirely sure what the point of this introduction to Rebecca's mother is, but that's what I feel like. It's definitely, we haven't seen the last of her. It's definitely just an introduction to who these people are.
I think the whole purpose of her introduction is what happened to Ted in this episode.
Okay, yeah,
Because it was, I mean, I don't want to bury the leaks. Ted's the main meat of this episode. We're going to save it a little bit, but
yeah.
with her mom and dad splitting, getting a divorce, divorce.
Just the
And
conversation, bringing it up,
yeah.
that little jab that she gives them is just adding onto the pile. Yeah,
Well, also a phone call, that took place in this episode.
right.
It's just one thing after another. Now, I think that would have been the main purpose of mom being introduced in this episode. Not
Yeah.
so much for Rebecca at all, but this was all pointed towards Ted.
Yeah, that's a good call. That makes sense. Moving on from Rebecca, we had a bit of a storyline here within Coach Beard and the Diamond Dogs. So Coach Beard's back with Jane, the the local woman that he met last season playing chess. When they've been on again, off again. Jane's apparently kind of a crazy girlfriend.
Yeah, sounds like she's kind of a flight risk.
Yeah, but I mean, Beard is also kind of, Beard's not all the way there either.
Yeah, he's kind of a weird cat.
Yeah, he's kind of an eccentric character, so these two might be okay. But essentially, we come to find out that Beard and Jane are back to being together officially after some time of being apart. And Ted is supportive, Nate is supportive, but in the moment, Higgins isn't very supportive of the idea.
No, Higgins is not buying it at all. He does not like it at all. He actually calls an emergency Diamond Dogs meeting.
He does, yeah.
And it's funny because all of a sudden Roy's like, nope, screw this, I'm out.
He nopes out, man. He's like, I may be a coach, I am not a part of this Diamond Dogs.
He's like, he is not a member of the Diamond Dogs.
Right.
It's nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
I thought that was funny.
That was funny. And Roy already has like his portion of the office that he can just, duck into. But Higgins's point is that this Jane lady is just no good for Beard. Just the way she treats him and how flighty she is. And, and Higgins, I think he's coming from a good place. But his experience in love has been probably a lot different than Coach Beard's, I'm sure. He met the right person early on, and he's been with that person for many, many years and been happy.
Side note on Higgins, though, I found this out through one of our viewers, and I looked it up myself.
Yeah.
Higginson's wife in the show is actually his wife.
Oh, his wife in real life.
Yeah, his wife in real life. They play husband and wife on the show, and it's an actual husband and wife relationship. So the chemistry between the two it's real. It's not like a.
Oh,
acting.
That's nice. Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, you could. Now that you say that, I can kind of tell that. That's sweet. But yeah, Higgins doesn't like it. And when Beard, kind of leaves the room, they have a smaller, condensed Diamond Dogs meeting between Ted, Nate, and Higgins, and they discuss it as far as why Higgins is having such an issue with it. And both Nate and Ted are like, you can't tell him that.
Yeah.
You got to keep that to yourself.
It's not good business getting into someone else's business.
Yeah, right, exactly. But later in the episode, Higgins can't help himself.
He's sitting outside the room underneath the window, and there's an interaction with Jane and Beard, and it has something to do with going drinks with some other guy or something like that.
Yeah.
And you see Higgins just like he's working through. He's like, man, I've got to tell him, because even Keely and Rebecca tell him don't interact, don't say anything.
Yeah. They have their own harsh feelings towards Jane also.
Yeah, but she hunted down Keely, was asking if Beard and Ted were shagging. I was like, that's hilarious.
I know. Who's shipping that one? I don't know.
That's a lot of hair.
Um, yeah, so Higgins in his new makeshift office, he's still roaming wandering the different portions of that building, trying to find a space for himself. But he overhears that conversation. He's moved to the point where it's like he's got to tell Beard, and by the end of the day, he does, just how he feels about the whole thing. Beard listens to him, and I think Beard appreciates that Higgins cares about him. He gives him a big hug, but then right afterwards, he leaves with Jane, and they're off to do.
Well, he also
whatever.
said, he says, "I hear you, but we'll never speak of this again."
Right. Yeah, the important part is I don't think he's mad at Higgins.
No, I think like you
there.
said, he appreciates the fact that he cared for him enough
Right.
to risk making him mad by telling him, how do you put it? Does she make you greater? That's how he put it.
Yeah.
And that's when Beard actually embraced him and
Right.
said, I appreciate it, but we won't speak of this again.
Yeah. You're still my boy. We'll carry on, but I don't know. I kind of like Jane and Beard together. They're both kind of of the same ilk, Like I'm rooting for it. Why not?
I've got no opinion on either way. I really don't. That's one there. Like I could take or give or take it. That doesn't bother me one way or the other.
But I think that kind of speaks to Beard's character. He's just like out of everybody, I think the spotlight has not shown on Beard as a character as much. He's always been kind of the side character that comes in at the right moment, says the right thing, and we haven't had a ton of time with him.
I've said it before. We need more Beard in our life.
Yeah. So we'll see how that goes.
Well, then there was an interaction between Beard and Jamie. Beard's just sitting in the office after the Diamond Dogs, meeting. Jamie walks in, and Jamie's complaining about Roy, which we'll speak about here in a minute. And they're left alone, and Jamie's like, "I don't know how to talk to you." He's like, "Well, good, it's working."
Right. Yeah. We got a touch of Jamie Tart in this episode too, which is nice because we haven't really gotten too much of him. But yeah, you're right. So Roy, he nopes out of this Diamond Dogs meeting. He wants no part of it. He finally comes back in, and Roy had his own, little piece of this episode here. He's got issues, and of course he would, coaching Jamie Tart, who was his nemesis only very recently.
Yeah.
So to be in a supporting role for Jamie, that's got to be biting at him a bit.
It kind of hurts a little bit.
Yeah.
Because he still wants to be out in the field.
Mm-hmm.
Now he's like stroking the ego of, the guy he hated.
Exactly. And to be fair, Jamie's a different player, and he's striving to be a better, different person than he was this time last year. So, Jamie's doing the right thing because he's actually seeking Roy out for his guidance. There's a portion where they're on the pitch or, the practice field, and they're doing what they're doing. And Roy has plenty to say and advice to give for a lot of the players that are out there. And Jamie
like,
comes
what about me?
Yeah, what about me? And I don't know, he curses him out basically.
Turns around.
Yeah. But that's an issue. And he's
a member of the team.
Yeah.
And Roy is a coach.
Right.
So he needs to coach the full team.
Yeah.
As I smack the mic.
But you know what comes up later is that Roy knows exactly what Jamie needs. And I'm appreciate that they got back to this, and it just wasn't something that they dragged out, because later in the episode, Jamie kind of confronts him. They get into it a bit, and it gets heated in the locker room.
Well, Keeley told him what to do. Keeley's just like, just agree with everything he said.
Yeah, exactly.
That's how I take the sale and the wind out of his sails.
Mm-hmm.
So he uses that, that approach. So when he starts, insulting him, I'm ugly, I've got terrible hair, and he's repeating him. And he didn't want to say the hair thing. He felt it's like, I don't have great hair. No, say it. Then he was like, that was effing awesome. He walks away.
I don't think it worked with Jamie, coming from Jamie as much as it probably worked with Keeley.
What happened. He knew he talked.
Yeah,
as soon as I think he tried to use that tactic, he knew it came from Keeley.
Yeah.
He's like, yep, nope, this isn't going to work. I'm smarter than this.
He saw it a mile away, didn't he? Yeah.
Yeah, he did too.
But I mean, afterwards, so when they finally have this confrontation, the advice that he gives Jamie is that, like, Jamie, you're a prick deep down inside your heart and your insides. You are not this, nice, giving teammate of a player.
He came out and said, Ted Lasso effing ruined you.
Right.
He said the reason he is not scoring goals and the reason he's not playing up to his potential is because Lasso is the reason. And I was like,
right.
And Ted's just standing there like, oh, hey, what?
Yeah, like, I gotta hear this one. Yeah,
So
he's interested.
he's beating him down. He's basically, you know what? He's telling him, he said, you need to be the prick.
Yeah,
You need to be that guy. That's who you are in the field. He said, you got to be it occasionally when it is appropriate.
right.
So you got to pick and choose when that part of your personality needs to come out. On the pitch is one thing. In the locker room is a whole nother. If you're that guy out there, I always look to hockey. I hated the Toronto Maple Leafs because there was a player called Ty Domi was a complete ass, dirty player the whole way around. I hated him as a fan of the Flyers.
Right.
Toronto Maple players and their fans in the locker room loved him because he was getting us and the other team all worked up.
Sure.
So you need that player in the field. Like when I watch the U.S. men's national team, the younger players, there isn't a dirtiness to them. Not a dirtiness. There isn't an aggressiveness to them. Like when they're playing Mexico will push them around because they won't play that physical form of football.
Yeah.
But when you get the A squad out there, you get the guys that play over in Europe, there is that grittiness.
Right.
And that's what they're looking for Jamie to pull out. We need that grittiness from Jamie because when Jamie shows it, I bet you McAdoo will feed off it.
Sure.
And so will Danny, you know, and Sam, they'll all feed off that energy. They just need one player to actually give that energy. And that's what Roy was trying to pull out of them.
Yeah, I think you're right. And Roy's point was basically, Ted's turned you into an average player. He's taken you from a superstar kind of player to an average player, making all these passes and being such a nice guy in the field. But you got to be able to flip it on and off,
Yeah. Yeah. You got when the game is over, you got to leave that personality on the field.
Yeah.
And I mean, I like what they're doing to Jamie. There was a comment that on one of our videos. So they think they're bringing Jamie to the light and Nate to the dark.
Right. Yeah.
And those two personalities are going to flip.
Yeah.
And I can see that happening. So that they're instilling more and more like confidence within Nate, which is making him more and more of that, lack of a better way of saying it, prick.
You're right. Yeah. And Jamie's been toned down quite a bit where this is the nice Jamie. This is the Jamie that's going to pass the ball. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, it was funny. I mean, we talked about it. The name of this episode was Signals. So Roy was like, when you see the signal, be that prick.
Right.
And then we're watching the game, and all of a sudden, Roy's like, it's time to give it. Everyone looks at each other like, are we going to do this?
Yeah.
And they're just going to double bird them.
Yeah, they all gave him the bird, and that was enough. That was enough for Jamie.
He looked
to get
at it
what
like,
that
hold
signal
on.
was.
He said, you'll know the signal when you see it.
Yeah.
And sure enough. And
Yeah.
I love the broadcasters, the announcers are like, oh, he's come to our side. he's embraced our culture.
Yeah. It was a fantastic scene because it more solidified Roy intuitively knowing his players and what they need, and just being another example of Roy being a good coach, right?
Yeah.
And it gave us a little bit of a glimpse on how Richmond as a whole, Richmond AFC, can kind of turn the season around and make this into a winning season.
They were in a 3-game winning. We started the season with all ties.
Yeah.
And then they lost that game to break the tie. Now we're on with this episode, we're on a 4-game winning streak.
Right.
And they're basically, the announcers were like, this team has completely turned it around from where they were.
Yeah. Pieces are clicking together at Richmond AFC for sure. And the other thing that this happens in this moment, you do see a little bit more of a moment with Nate just being uncomfortable, where he's not sure what his place is, because Ted and Beard are celebrating with Roy, and Nate is just kind of, he gets a moment where he just feels a little uncomfortable, like, okay.
You kind of hear the strings again from Rainbow almost.
Right.
That point. I think they almost used them a second time. I don't know. It's just, it was a cool part of the song.
Either way, that might be in your head from you listening to it over the last week.
That's very possible.
Yeah, but once again, that comes back later in the episode. Nate's able to recover and kind of take charge himself. And we have a couple of clips as far as what's remaining here in the episode. Is Nate getting his due? One of those clips.
Yeah. Nate getting into it, but I think we need to talk about it in a proper order, because the way it happens will be kind of burying the lead. And
Yeah,
I
that's
mean,
true.
it's Ted. I mean, we've been
Right.
talking about this for a while. We've had Dr. Sharon on the staff. We've seen her like interacting with them. She knows something's up.
Yeah.
She can feel that there's something going on with Ted that may eventually, break this, bubbly personality, or this bubbly personality is covering up the pain that's underneath.
Right.
That's usually what a lot of times it is. A lot of times it's just a front, and then when you're by yourself, I mean, we've seen him on the Christmas episode. He's sitting there watching A Wonderful Life, drinking whiskey, because things didn't go as long with his son as he wanted them to.
Yeah.
So I mean, we get that right before the Diamond Dogs meeting. He gets that call, and it's for his school from his son. He starts panicking. He's like, what's going on? And come to find out, it was just, he forgot his lunch,
Mhm.
before his class trip, and there's no way he can get it there because he's thousands of miles away. And don't know if the school knew where Dad was or not, but I mean, they know now.
Yeah.
But I mean, just that interaction right there, you've seen that all of a sudden that internal conflict happening with Ted.
Right.
Like I'm failing as a father because I'm not there with him.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. There was a moment too where I was wondering, like, what's the time zone difference between Ted's home back in America and London? Wouldn't it be like different part of the day? But I don't know. I was thinking about it too hard as far as them calling him about his son's
I think
lunch.
it would be morning, evening, like morning there, evening over in Europe. Because a lot of the games, a lot of the actual football games that I watch are evening games for us.
Right, but then
Oh
it
no,
seemed
I'm
like
sorry,
it was
morning
pretty
games.
it was pretty
Yeah.
early on in the day over in London, so I don't know, that's why I was confused. But
Yeah.
that doesn't matter. I mean, Ted
Needs to
gets this
spend
phone
day,
call. Yeah, Ted gets this phone call, and it's another reminder that he's not with his son, which is, later he
That's got to
even
be gut wrenching.
yeah, and especially when you're trying to being a leader of men and almost being like a father figure to a bunch of these footballers and teaching them life lessons and teaching them how to be better people, and you're in a position where you're basically doing that for a bunch of these strangers, and you're not in a position where you can be doing that for your own son on a day in day out basis. Yeah, that's got to be pulling at Ted quite a bit. I would think. But we get another instance here where Ted, he's been a big player in the episode so far, kind of dipping into the Diamond Dogs meeting, dipping into, Roy's stuff that's going on. He was still celebrating Jamie's score in the game.
Oh, they're
And
playing the Tottenham Hotspurs, man. Dude, they are like, I mean, they're the teams that they're putting in this show,
Mhm.
Manchester City, Tottenham. I mean, these are like top tier teams.
Yeah.
These aren't like the bottom feeders. So the fact that they're playing them and Jamie scores the goal and they get up on them 1-0, after I think it was a little after 30 minutes of the first half here.
Right.
I'm like, holy crap. I mean, that upset wise, that is massive.
Right.
I mean,
We
it's
gotta
one of
think here,
those.
as far as the show on a whole, the show's popular. So, and the show is like giving a spotlight to the Premier League. Like I'd never watched, soccer before Ted Lasso. But now like being interested in being in a show that's they're in the Premier League and like learning about the ins and outs of the league itself and being relegated and promoted and the different teams that they face and stuff. I'm like, it's just generating this interest and being like, oh, I'm checking that out. So I think it behooves them to actually put actual teams in there.
Yeah.
So that you can learn about these actual teams and the actual players in them. I think that's
Yeah.
cool.
I like how they're putting the bigger name teams in there. So it's an immediate, like, it's easier to like identify with them. Like, you
Yeah.
know who that is. Like, say for instance, they put American football on. They'll put New England, or they'll put Dallas, or
Right.
the Raiders. They'll put those teams that are immediately recognizable.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not the Jacksonville Jaguars.
No, I wouldn't say that. Or the Cincinnati Bengals.
Yeah. That's
Oh
right.
no, well, that's sad.
Anyway. But Ted, so we revisit Ted, and it's kind of out of left field a little bit because things are going well in the game. But all of a sudden, Ted starts hearing the folks yelling, the footballers yelling in the field and people yelling in the stands. He starts to hear Jamie's father. And anyway, let's just check out what happens during the match with Ted.
You better not, Jamie.
Coach, you okay?
Yeah, no. I gotta go. My stomach.
What's happening? He said his stomach.
Can't abandon the game.
Well, we've seen this before. Lasso appears to be leaving.
I know that run. That's the run of a man who...
Ted has another panic attack, very similar to how it was shot in the karaoke episode in season 1, where it starts he can feel it in his fingers, and he just starts breathing really heavy, and it's just, and we knew this was going to happen, right? You and I could tell, like, that panic attack that he has in season 1, it wasn't like he was cured.
It wasn't a one-time thing, no.
Yeah, whatever was going on with Ted, it was going to come back, and they've been putting he's been putting a happy face on this thing all season long, avoiding talking about it, avoiding Dr. Sharon, as far as setting an appointment with her, and he disappears. I mean, Rececca notices it in the stands.
She's seen it, and she recognized it. She recognized it immediately.
Yeah,
I mean, she got up and left and went after him.
Yeah,
and couldn't find him anywhere. The big concern to me was she found his vest on the floor in the locker room.
Right.
That to me was like, oh, did he just up and leave?
Right.
Like, did he just boom? He just hit that panic attack and his fight
like he's on the first flight back to America.
Yeah, exactly. That was kind of what my mind was thinking.
Yeah,
and and they still didn't find him, and she's holding the vest, and the team comes in, celebrating because they pulled off this massive upset in the FA Cup. So they're going to the FA Cup, finale, which by itself is freaking cool as hell.
Yeah,
I mean that's awesome. And even Ted thought it was cool. It's like, we had this little NCAA kind of tournament right in the middle of the season, so he was pumped for it. So you can tell that was going on. But yeah, man, that was. I seen it coming. I didn't know when. We were waiting for it.
Right.
And the fact that it happened when everything was going great.
It's realistic, right?
Well. Yeah.
Yeah. Because, I mean, even when things are up, that's what people that deal with depression and deal with these sort of things, none of this always makes sense, because you could live the kind of life where you're thankful and things are actually up and doing well. And there's no thing to trigger this kind of thing. Sometimes it happens out of the blue, like it does here, and in an episode where things look to be completely on the up and up for Ted, right smack in the middle of it, he gets hammered by this thing.
Yeah, and that sucks. And he just, when we see him, he just ups and leaves. So and it kind of puts the coaching staff in a weird spot, because right after that happens, Tottenham scores. They even the game before half.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, you were on this high because you went ahead and, you scored this massive goal, which that goalie was garbage. If he let that go, and he's just straight up garbage.
Right.
But besides that, all that, like, that wind that was in their sails deflated. And even in the bar, they were like, right when we were trusting you, Lasso.
Exactly.
They were kind of yelling at him. So
Ted's completely MIA. I mean, we don't know where he is until the final scene of the episode. Rebecca's looked for him. She can't find him. They don't know where he's at on the field. And in the meantime, kind of rewinding back a little bit, Richmond does win this game thanks to Nate. And I don't know, we should just check out that scene, because in that moment, Beard and Roy are kind of fighting to each other about what to do next.
Yeah, they're kind of panicking now. It's like, okay, we got to figure this out.
Yeah.
And then this pretty much happens here.
Reynolds, Winchester, Babatwende, you going in? Hey, Colin, Danny, Richard, you coming off? Yes, you, Colin. Park the bus. What? Park the bus. No one up front, do it. Oh, we need to go. Park the goddamn bus. Go. Park the bus. Park the bus.
And it's a rare triple substitution for Richmond.
What's going on? I got this.
Looks like the coaching staff are panicking, Arlo.
I love that moment for Nate.
He just steps right into it. And he's like, this is my moment. Because right before that, he does that whole, spitting on, like he did
in the mirror.
At the restaurant, in the mirror. This time he just kind of did it on the ground. And he's like, you know what? this is where I need to set up. And he didn't wait for anyone else. He just started yelling names and said, this is what we're doing. And you're like, you know what? If you question me, you're coming off the field too. I don't care who you are.
He sounded like a coach, man.
Yeah, he stepped right into it. And that's what makes me think one of two things are going to happen with the season. Come the end of the season, Ted's going to take a sabbatical. Like Ted's going to have to take a period of leave to work through whatever demons he has.
Yeah.
And either Nate's going to be the head coach, the interim coach. I think, and with Nate being the interim coach, with them and the way I think the show is going to go, they're going to be promoted. And with them being promoted under the watch of Nate, I think he's going to earn a job at another location.
Oh, look at you. You're really calling a bunch of shots, aren't you?
Yeah, I don't think it would be a Premier League team and maybe a Champions League team, which they're in now, or even maybe a lower league. But I think he will earn an opportunity to do what he can do, because he came as a kick boy, but even as a kit boy, he knew the game.
Yeah.
I mean, Lasso was the one that gave him the opportunity, and now he's running with that opportunity. And then with the the mentorship of Keely and Rececca, giving him this confidence that he found finally in himself.
Yeah.
I think he's going to wind up as a coach or a manager on another squad.
Yeah, he certainly sounded like one. That's would be a big plot development for Nate there.
And what if they faced each other? Think about that.
Wow.
What if at one point in the next season, they actually his new team and AFC Richmond actually played like in like a tournament style game, not like a finale type game, because we figured how that would go. Richmond would have to win it.
Right.
But if it was a game that had lower stakes that either team could win or lose, that would be fun, man. Okay, I'm going crazy here.
You're writing the whole season 3 for him, man. I don't know. I mean, it's just fun to see Nate take on that role, and he was good at it, man. In that moment, he just knew exactly what to do. Later, when they're interviewing him and he's in front of the press box and getting all sorts of this attention and cameras flashing in his face, he slips a little bit, and you can see that confidence kind of go away for a moment.
Yeah, he's like, "Oh, this couldn't be edited out, right? No, this is live."
Right. I mention all the Nate stuff because we end the episode where we finally get back to Ted. We realize where he's been hiding out this whole time.
Well, the whole team actually finally convinced Coach Sharon to go out to get one drink after hours with him. She's like, okay, since you guys won the game, I'll go out with one drink.
Right.
So he goes back to her office, I guess, to put some paperwork down, prepare to go out with him, and that's when she is kind of startled.
Yeah, she opens up the door to her dark office, and Ted is laying there on her couch, and he's disheveled. He looks
clutching a pillow.
Yeah, he's just a mess. He's still almost like in the throes of this panic attack. It seems like he's not really kind of fully snapped out of it. And at this point, he finally asks. He's like, "I'd like to set up an appointment," and that's how we end the episode. And it's just kind of heartbreaking for Ted.
Yeah, and I mean, it's right in line. Like, I hate seeing it, but there's so much love in it.
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
Right. I'm glad that he finally, it's hard to see anybody go through that kind of thing, but I'm glad he's doing what needs to be done. He's a present enough of mind to finally be like, I really need help to work through whatever's going on right now.
Yeah, swapping BLTs with Coach Beard in the bar isn't going to get me through what I need to get through.
Yeah, exactly. And just kind of having that happy face for everybody is just not working. And we're finally gonna bring Sharon into a larger role, thankfully, because she's been kind of in the background so far this season.
And she's been watching. You see her watching from the stands. When Jamie scored the goal, she's kind of there watching the maturation of the team. And I always feel like she's kind of proud of it, because she was brought in for a couple players, but a lot of the players are coming to her.
Yeah,
and she's becoming a part of the team in a way that I don't think a lot of people actually would have guessed.
Yeah, and when she's in the stands, she looks like she's kind of enjoying herself too. Like she's starting to warm up to the idea of actually just being a straight up fan of Richmond AFC.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But this episode brings up just the plot was chugging forward on this episode, man, and it was another A+ episode. For
I
me.
have not been disappointed yet.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, even that Christmas one that we didn't get no forward motion on the plot itself, that was a fun standalone episode.
Yeah.
These here, I mean, we're only halfway through. We have 6 more episodes left of this season.
Yeah, isn't that crazy? How much plot we've had so far, and we're only halfway through. That is crazy.
It's going to be phenomenal, and I love what they're doing with these characters. I love us. Like, actually, they put it to the point where there's so much care and love that we have for Ted.
Yeah.
And then there's Jamie, who we like loathed in the first season.
Yeah.
I can't get enough of him now. I love the new Jamie.
Yeah.
Nate, on the other hand, I don't like this more aggressive, darker side Nate. I like the lighthearted Nate a little bit more.
Right.
So, I mean, then there's Keeley, and then there's the players we're getting to know, and then there's the whole Higgins dynamic. It's just one great thing after another. And I mean, in a time right now where we need a show like this, I think I said this last season, Ted Lasso is, the hero we want, not the hero we deserve.
Yeah.
The type setup, it's, I know, and it's got me like trying to predict what's happening next. That's how much I'm enjoying it. So I'm drawing out like lines, and I'm making a big old like flow chart.
Seasons. Yeah. I could tell earlier you've given it some thought.
A lot of that was on the fly though, too. I was like, if this happens and that happens, we can do this. And oh man, it's if you can't tell, I love the crap out of the show.
Yeah, send in your spec script, see if they do it.
I'm just gonna give them a whole flow chart. This happens. If this doesn't happen, repeat this, and until this happens, go there.
Well, like you mentioned earlier in this show, the after show, we've had a lot of comments from you guys during the show and after, when you guys are watching it on YouTube, throughout the week or whatnot. And we certainly appreciate that. So keep on doing that.
We love that, guys. Thank you.
There was one that you mentioned earlier, Leah on it was YouTube, I believe.
YouTube, yeah.
She said, I feel like the show is going to have Jamie slowly come to the light side and Nate slowly to the dark side, which we addressed and talk about. It's kind of like the classic wrestling babyface heel turn,
Yeah, exactly. And she's been very there's a lot of other things. This was like the easiest one to talk about. I mean, she'll sit down and she'll break it down, and she'll okay, part 1, part 2, part 3. And she's like, at first she's like, sorry guys, I'm gonna get into this. I'm like, no, don't be sorry. We love the content. So I mean, that's awesome.
And another viewer, RA. Do you remember what platform they watched us on?
These are all YouTube.
Oh, YouTube. Okay, so RA mentioned, remember Ted's opening talk to the team. It will all work out. Maybe not the way you think, but it'll all work out. In regards to last week's episode, that talk about the romantic comedy, rom-communism. I forgot the wording of it.
The rom-communism.
Yeah, but they say could be a tease that he and her are not texting each other, which so RA was spot on with that.
Yeah, he was right on it.
Yeah.
I mean, when the more you read it and the more you read the comment and the more you look at it, I'm like, you know what? We didn't see it coming, but I mean, he didn't point out, say it was going to be a certain somebody. We know now it's Sam, but he was like, this is all a misdirect.
Yeah.
He's like, it's not going to be him. It's going to be someone else. Now, I mean, I would have loved it now that we figured it out if it was Rupert. Because if it was Rupert,
some drama, some high drama.
Could you imagine?
Yeah.
Because not only would it be Rupert, her ex-husband, but married to the young girl that they're going to have kids with.
Right.
That owns a part of the team. Could you? I don't know if they just didn't think of that,
or it's just the dynamic of just I've been married to this man for years and years, and he's showing a side on this messaging app that I've never gotten from him. Just that part of it too. Who is this man, and why am I falling for him over text messages?
Is he doing it again?
Right? Is this just a troll from him?
Yeah, because what happened to them while they were married is he slept around.
Yeah.
And those people don't stop doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And then he just kind of finds, who we originally went with, through this app. That storyline would have been awesome too.
Yeah, I don't like to get too far ahead of these things because I do trust the writers of Ted Lasso. They've been doing a bang-up job so far. But you're right. You and I bringing that up, if it was Rupert, that could have wound up doing so many things.
Would it have been too much conflict for a lighthearted show?
It might have been, but this show doesn't, even though it is lighthearted, it doesn't shy away from that stuff. I mean, Rupert and Rececca had some awesome, very dramatic conflicts last year and conversations that we were part of as viewers. So I could see something like that happening. But yeah, just to get back to it, we love when you guys have comments. We love when you guys, leave comments and comment live during the show. But anytime that you're watching this, if you're on YouTube right now, help feed the YouTube algorithm.
Yes.
We love it. Be sure to like, subscribe, leave comments on the episode. And it helps us grow as a channel, so we certainly appreciate it.
And we will respond to everyone that's put on there.
Yeah.
If you put something on there and you spend the time to go ahead and leave the comment, we will make sure to spend the time to go ahead and respond back and thank you for, spending the time to watch and then comment, on top of all of it.
Yeah. We are Dadnarok. We're here each and every Friday at 10 p.m. doing the Ted Lasso After Show. Check out dadnarok.com for everything that we do.
Okay, guys. Well, I think it's a good spot to say thanks for watching and keep it cheesy.
See ya.